Can I ask Paul Ash, Director of the National Cyber Policy Office, part of the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet, just speak briefly a little about his role and the role the department faces.
Okay, so we'll probably be speed dating here. We'll get a quick snapshot of government and how it works in this area and then go to some questions. A quick intro about my office. We were formed in 2012 to lead on the development of cybersecurity policy advice for government. You've heard from the earlier speakers why cybersecurity policy and cybersecurity defence is a real priority for governments these days. And also to advise on investing government resources in cybersecurity activity. We do that because we're interested in building the right environment for New Zealanders to thrive online, to do business, to invest, to develop intellectual property, to shop, to play, all of those things that we do these days, to research and to learn. And we want to make sure that New Zealanders are equipped to do that safely. The last thing we want is cyber insecurity to take away the gains that the internet will deliver for us. And we'll hear a bit more about some of the gains from, I think, from Paul Muckleston shortly. A big part of that is actually helping New Zealanders to understand the opportunities of the internet and to be aware of the changing cyber risk and how they manage it. So what does that risk look like? Well, it's really important that we actually understand the breadth of the challenge we face in cyber, and it goes from one end of the spectrum in cyber bullying all the way through to state-sponsored espionage and in some instances attacks on critical infrastructure, and we've had some great examples of that in the last few minutes. What does it look like for New Zealand though? Because I'm not an Australian, I'm a Kiwi, and I work here and need to understand what happens in our environment. Well, it's really hard to tell is the simple answer. Finding out the prevalence and size of the cyber challenge is one of the largest issues we face. But by way of a snapshot, the National Cyber Security Centre recorded a 60% rise in recorded incidents from 134 in 2012 to 219 in 2013. Now, those might seem small numbers, but these are actually incidents that had the potential to have quite a serious impact. The everyday garden variety stuff got weeded out. And that came on a 60% increase the year before, and we expect we'll probably see a 60% increase in the year to come. This is just a snapshot of a much bigger picture because it's not looking at the cybercrime impact or some of the other issues around harmful communications. And we heard about Target earlier. That was not a US incident alone. It affected New Zealand because the banks actually had a number of credit cards exposed on New Zealand's accounts through that hack. So if the number of incidents is rising, we did some work to try and find out how savvy New Zealanders are about understanding cyber risk and what to do about it. And I think there will be some people with an actuarial background in the room, am I right? Some of you? Yeah, the numbers don't lie. We could be doing an awful lot better. And you'll see there's some contradiction in these statistics that go to the complacency and denial question. 83% of New Zealanders had experienced a cybersecurity breach of some sort. 17% had had their social media identity hacked and stolen. That's quite a surprising and large statistic. But at the same time, 26% of New Zealanders don't believe that they've got a cybersecurity risk that would affect them. Now, you can't add those two things together and get some consistency. So we've got a challenge in front of us. If I could just ask a question of you, how many people here have got a smartphone? You lift your hand? Great. How many of you got a pin on that smartphone? I won't ask the opposite question, how many haven't? How many of you got a work smartphone with a pin on it? Okay, we were shocked when we did our research because 1 in 3 New Zealanders don't have a pin on their own smartphone. And that's an individual choice. What surprised us was that 48% of New Zealanders that had a work-issued smartphone did not have a pin on it. Just have a think about that because that's a computer in your pocket, not a phone these days. When we talked about social engineering, I presented yesterday in Wellington and my team spent an hour before I presented and found 2 of the officials that we presented to and came up with the targeting map for them. We put it in front of them in the course and they got quite a surprise. It took 1 hour off social media and open internet sources for us to work out how to put a convincing email in front of them that was tailored to their work and their interests. They were a bit surprised when we showed them this and a bit concerned, but it was a good instance of just how easy that is. And my guys they're policy specialists, not intel specialists, so they were doing this off a different sort of base. So what are we going to do about this? It's kind of troubling because individual behaviour actually has a collective impact here. Social engineering is targeted at a person, but can actually get to an enterprise level or a national level by way of being a threat. We've established Connect Smart to try and deal with that. And it's two things really. It's one, tailored advice for individuals, for small and medium enterprises, for corporates, and for boards. That issue of translating from the IT department up to a board is really challenging. I presented to 150 directors here a couple of weeks ago at the IOD. And I asked the question after we'd talked with insurance partners actually from a couple of companies, how many of you as directors felt comfortable that you had a good view on cybersecurity risk and that it was being managed in your organisation? Out of 150, one person put their hand up. So we've got quite a way to go. Connect Smart's about helping to build that awareness, but more importantly, it's a public-private partnership because cybersecurity is going to require us as government to work in really new and different ways with the private sector. I was really excited to hear some of the stuff Jackie was talking about in terms of Christchurch earlier. Sarah is now part of the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet, and it's forced us to work in new ways with the industry to deliver new solutions. Cyber will be no different. Our incentives align fundamentally and closely in the cybersecurity risk area, and that's why we're so excited that as part of the public-private partnership, the Insurance Council of New Zealand and a number of its members have now signed up and are working closely with government. The other issue I think in here is that we are collectively going to have to work on building awareness and behaviour change. Now awareness is okay, you can kind of get there with social marketing. Behaviour change is much, much harder. And that's something we're going to have to work on collectively. Not just the insurance industry, but telcos, IT providers, community groups and government in partnership. The name of Connect Smart is no accident either. Previously we called this cybersecurity awareness, and our marketing people caught on pretty quickly as to why it wasn't actually hitting home. Cybersecurity is scary and awareness is passive. If you put scary and passive together, you get zero. So we've turned it around. We want people to get online and we want them to be well equipped to do so. And our message really is quite simple. I think I've got one slide that's now gone. Take simple steps. So at an individual level, there are very, very easy things you can do. Shama Beale put up a slide earlier talking about defence and the invincibility of defence and the importance of or possibility of victory in attack. One of the other challenges we face here is that classic aphorism from Sun Tzu is inverted here. So actually in cybersecurity, the attacker has the advantage, not the defender. And we're going to have to work closely together in new ways to try and protect New Zealanders against that. We're at the beginning of that journey. We've got a long way to go, but we're really keen to work with the industry on doing so. Thank you.